On today's show, is this what it's like? Is this what it's like to prepare for a game against Luka Doncic?
I'm gonna get a city like that.
Dogs, all of us, all five.
You are Locked On Mavs.
Great, Wesley.
Your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast.
No one's dying.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Still can't leave me alone.
Your team every day.
Gotta be born with it. Dog gut.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks, your team every day. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member covering the Dallas Mavericks for 10 years. Thanks for being an everyday or making Locked On Mavs your first listen. Today's episode, we're getting into Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks. Except for he's not on the team anymore and he's playing the Dallas Mavericks. What a weird thing to say. The Mavs are preparing to play that game, so we'll talk about that. We'll get into all kinds of other stuff. Joining me, as always, my co-host, media member, the Luka lover, the One More Thing King. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
I'm ready to get this dub tonight. Luka doesn't want any. I don't know. I'm just trying, guys.
If we know anything about Luka Doncic, it is he wants all the smoke.
He wants all of it.
All the smoke all the time. Today, though, we'll get into. I want to talk about the worst parts of this trade right now. We're going through it. We're gonna start. We're gonna start listing through what is the. Let's have a moment where all of us can come together and talk about what are you feeling the worst about. So comment on YouTube, on Twitter, on Instagram at Locked On Mavs. What's the worst part of the trade for you right now?
It's exciting.
What are you feeling the worst about? Let's get into it. And I'm gonna start here with mine.
Okay, real quick. It's at my counseling.
All right, do your whole thing.
No. At my counseling a few weeks ago, I had to do this hey, we're walking through some things in my life. And it was like, let's list out all the negative memories. I was like, well, this sounds like a lot of fun. And, brings up a lot of emotions, a lot of different things. And this feels like the sports version of this right now. Of let's walk through all of the hurt and trauma. And
sometimes when you go through something that's very hard, you have to go through all that. You have to trudge through all the trauma to figure out maybe it's not as bad as you think it is, or maybe it's worse than you thought it was. But you have to process it, and that's what we're going to do together today. We'll process it and go through it, because I think going into a game where your team is going to face Luka Doncic is not a good feeling, because he can figure out any defense. He can work through. He can pick apart any defense that gets thrown out at you. And Luka loves a revenge game. And I think that this is heating up right now to be a Luka revenge game. What do you expect from him in this game tonight?
I mean, especially, I thought it was funny how, he had a couple games back from the injury. He hasn't played since Christmas. All right. I mean, we know because we've been waiting for him to come back for so long, but then, he comes back and obviously he's not in good shape. He's sluggish. This is how he was going to be if he was in Dallas too, of just coming back from the injury and stuff and getting back in the groove. And there's, Luka, guys, he's going to be a monster. Just give him
win the trade.
Give him a few games. And those storylines have been a blast too, because it was, did Nico win the trade? Then they win one game and it's like, are they contenders now?
Yeah,
and it's oh my gosh. It's like it just goes off and on. Lose, man, this is a long-term play. It doesn't matter about this year. Win, they're winning the title. And it's like this back and forth has been insane. But no, I expect Luka to be Luka. I expect him to come out. He's gonna target somebody, probably like Max Christie or somebody on defense. And he's gonna try to get some step backs off and have a typical, it's the Luka first quarter. We watched it for 7 years. The Luka first quarters have been these gut punches for so many teams out there. And it would honestly surprise me if Luka comes out and doesn't put up 16 points in the first 6 minutes of the quarter or something.
And I think it's going to happen every time the Mavs play the Lakers from here on out, is that Luka is, you mentioned
this is the first time he's played a team he's ever played for, right? In his whole life, probably.
Man, probably.
He's never played Real Madrid and he's never played the Mavs.
And that's it. Those are his only two teams.
Little League.
He never played Team Slovenia, the national team.
Yeah. So
not really. He's played teammates before, but he's never played that. And I think that you mentioned he's going to target somebody. who he's going to target is Nico Harrison. If he sees Nico Harrison, like this is one of those things where you just keep him out of the line of sight of Luka Doncic at all costs if you're the Mavericks. And I think that's tactic number one. I think Jason Kidd needs to take to the front office. Hey, Nico, can we make sure your seats are like in a suite in a dark area where Luka cannot see you?
Does he have to go to this game? I mean,
yeah, his best friend is there.
I know, but they can get coffee anywhere else. Are we getting a like thank you Nico chant?
I don't know how the Lakers fans are going to respond in some kind of chant or something.
Tribute video?
There'd probably be Luka chants.
It'd be diabolical if they had a little tribute video to Nico.
That would win the internet the next day. That would win the internet.
It honestly would, yeah.
Yeah, that would be insane. But I think one of the worst parts about the trade is now we'll have these Luka revenge games and just prepare to play against Luka. And you're going to see it in this game tonight is that let's go. How do the Mavs defend Luka? Do they start with PJ on him? They still don't have any centers. Lakers don't really have any centers either. They have Jackson Hayes, but I think you maybe you start there. Maybe you start with Klay Thompson on him or something. Like I don't know where the Mavericks start.
Yeah. No, you start with PJ on him. I mean, I think it's actually going to probably work in the Mavs' favor a little bit that they don't have any bigs because, I mean, he would pull Gafford up every single time.
Yeah.
Same with Lively too. Lively's a little quicker on his feet, but still, he would just pull them up and get the mismatch on them every time. But no, they'll start PJ on him. And all the Mavs guys, they still love Luka. It's like a brother to them. And but I am curious though, like once you get on the court, if there'll be some like fun trash talk. We've seen Luka with ex teammates before, like have some fun with stuff. But will there be a little bit more like animosity in the game from like that Luka like brings to it? A lot of times it's more of like the laughing and entertainment and joy. That's so much fun. But I wonder if it's going to be like this friendly vibe of like, hey, these are my guys. They didn't trade me, but he's going to be so locked in because he's so competitive that then there's just some like, maybe there's some animosity with some teammates. Maybe it's Dorian and PJ because they don't have a connection. Maybe it's Dorian and PJ like exchange some words, or I don't know. Like or he's bizarre. Like mouthing off at Kid or something after a step back, and
like
then
the Carlisle moments.
Yeah, and it's like there's some stuff like, I mean, that would just like escalate it even more of like, holy crap, this is a moment right here.
Or maybe it's kind of like the Klay Thompson returning to the Warriors thing, where it was just so much love that you're like, okay, well, I don't really know how to respond. I'm gonna do my best here, but it's not as like you can't. I don't have animosity towards you guys anymore. Like I made a choice, it happened, blah blah blah. Luka's animosity, like you said, is not towards the players. Yeah. Where in the past when he's had revenge games, it's against players. It's against a Lou Dort. It's against a Chris Dunn. It's against a Devin Booker. It's something like that. Where it hasn't been, or I guess it has been a Rick Carlisle who's right there on the sidelines, but it hasn't been against like the front office member. And everybody on the Mavericks, the actual team themselves, have loved Luka, said great things about him. PJ Washington even mentioned that Luka reached out after PJ's son was born when he missed a couple of games after the trade, and that was really great for him. And so. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I wonder if he's just going to be, I wonder if there is going to be animosity at all, or if it is just joy, he's enjoying it, or if he'll just be so shell-shocked because he's been, those first couple games after the trade, he just didn't look comfortable and looked so bewildered. I mean, Dirk said he came and kind of like comforted him in that first, in his debut, and that's one of the reasons why he went to that game.
Yeah. I mean, he's just, he's mentioned multiple times the mental aspect of this trade and the effect it's had on him and stuff. So I'm curious to see he's going to seek out Kyrie in a mismatch and try to get Kyrie in the post. And I wonder if Kyrie will return the favor on the other end and seek Luka out on clear out ISOs and stuff. Luka struggled a little bit against LaMelo. And I know it's one of his, I'm going against what I was saying of like give him some, grace and stuff, but LaMelo was ISOing him out every single time down the floor in that fourth quarter when they played the Hornets and getting past him most times. So I just wonder if Kyrie's gonna, try to do that and all that. And I'm just fascinated with some of the like scheme stuff, and we've never been on this side of it. So he's impossible to like game plan against.
Kid's drawing that up where he calls Luka up every single time. I think that I could feel that happening. But the Mavericks, I don't know that they have the players to do that except for a Kyrie. And so I think a Kyrie will do that. And I can see Kyrie.
Dinwiddie's going to do it.
Facepalm. Kyrie's going to do it a couple times in a row. And if he scores on Luka a couple times in a row, he's just going to be like, I don't know. Kid's just calling it, man. I don't know what to tell. I don't know what to tell you, bro. Like hermano. Whatever he says to him. Coming up, a secret sneaky thing that has annoyed me about this trade, and how will this affect Luka's career long term? Because we're starting to see some things happen with him on the Lakers, and how will it affect his career long term? Talk about that and more coming up. Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by DoorDash. Go check out DoorDash because let's say a certain player scores 50 or more on a team in an NBA game. Then the next day, you can get 50% off an order up to $10 off the next day from noon to midnight. Yes, if any NBA player scores 50 points or more in a game during the season, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order up to $10 the next day from noon to midnight. So whatever you're doing, if you're getting people together for a watch party or if you're getting lunch on the go, whatever you need to do, sign up for Dash Pass. Be ready to save when any player scores 50 points or more in a game. Dash Pass members get 50% off an order the next day up to $10 off. Just use the promo code NBA50. NBA, the letters, then the number 5, the number 050 from noon to midnight after a 50-point game on eligible orders. Participating merchants must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more and check out all the other offers they have. See what's available at DoorDash and check it out with that Dash Pass. Promo code is NBA50.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Luka, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, what we call our listeners, listening every day. We appreciate each and every one of you for checking out the show. People have been asking us to do a Locked On Luka, and today is kind of that episode, basically, if you wanted us to do that.
Or do Locked On Lakers over my dead body.
You should have told 18-year-old or 12-year-old Nick that many people would be asking him to do Locked On Lakers, and he would have been excited.
You got the brothers for that.
He would have been excited, but not present day Nick.
Luka's testing every bone in my body to not watch Lakers games, but I still have not been able to help it and turn it on.
One of the things about this trade so far that has popped up is that I've just been annoyed by is seeing Lakers fans figure out how good Luka is. This happens every time.
Lakers fans? How about the Lakers front office? Hey, we asked Luka what bigs is like. We're trying to trade for Mark Williams because Luka had to tell us what kind of bigs he works well with.
That was infuriating. That story coming out was like, really?
Yeah,
it took that. Absolutely wild. But seeing Lakers fans figure out how good he is, this happens with any kind of trade. It happened with the Mavericks fans with Max Christie. All of a sudden, oh man, I didn't realize Max Christie was this. And I think Max Christie has been a little better on the Mavericks than he was on the Lakers sometimes. But starting to see that, I think we're going to see more and more media coverage for Luka now because he's on the biggest stage. Honestly, he's in LA. All the media companies are there. People are going to see him in person more often than they did before. And I'm just curious how this is going to affect his career going forward and affect his, I guess his legacy in a way, because as soon as he wins a title if he wins a title with the Lakers, he's going to be known as a Laker first instead of a Maverick first. And I think that is wild to me.
Yeah. Things just changed so much for him going to the Lakers. Like, as much as I hate the Lakers, just going to that franchise, so much history. The franchise, if you had to say the franchise in the NBA,
yeah,
maybe Boston.
There's a whole bunch of people in Massachusetts just passed out, but yeah.
But it's just like, it feels like for most of our lives, it's like, they get a generational star at some point. It's like, it's not when, or it's not like, it's not if, it's like a matter of like, it's just going from each. Just most of our like adult lives of the Kobe, Shaq into
honestly, their whole existence. George Mikan to Jerry West to Wilt Chamberlain to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to Magic Johnson to Shaquille O'Neal to Kobe Bryant to LeBron James, like Anthony Davis, like they just down the line. That's their whole history.
Just look up. However you want to rank, however people rank the top 10 and 15 players ever. Most of people will have the same gist of players. How many of those guys played for the Lakers? It's absolutely insane. So it's like him going to that franchise. That's another thing that, pissed me off on top of everything. Like, of all teams,
I know.
he has to be the next guy to go. But it's like, but media coverage around him for somebody who, like, he's been in the limelight for so long. And yes, you're in Dallas and like you're the main guy in Dallas post Dereck, but it's a whole different ball game with when you're the star of the Lakers. Expectations wise, it's been kind of funny just to see it from the outside of some Lakers fans posting or accounts on Twitter and stuff about certain things Luka does, and it's like, oh my, I'm like, yes, this is what Luka does. Even on the opposite end too of like some of the negative parts about Luka of like, oh man, his defense. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's kind of part of the package too.
There was a clip today that was going pretty viral on Lakers Twitter, and it was like, this Luka passing man is just on another level. He's top 2, but only 2 people in the entire NBA can do this. I'm like, oh my gosh, we've been saying this for how long?
We've done that. Or even like the pointing of like standing underneath the basket and like telling all of your teammates to rotate while he doesn't stand somewhere. Seen some people like pointing that out. It's like, yes, this is part of the Luka experience too.
Yeah.
There's lows, but the highs of the highs are the best. But honestly, I think we'll talk about Dorian more in a second too. But the Dorian part too has been a blast because and this was before Luka. They trade for Dorian, and I feel like when Dorian was on the Mavericks, he was just like kind of like a random role player. Maybe Zach Lowe would mention him, but hardly anybody would talk about him. And no joke, I was watching. I don't know if I was getting a haircut or whatever it was, and it was post Dorian trade, and I literally made a note in my phone. And there was a talking head on the show, and they're like, Dorian Finney-Smith is the perfect role player in LA. He does all the things. He plays defense. I'm like, guys, y'all didn't even know who this guy was 2 years ago. That's the Lakers bump, right? Kyle Kuzma's a star.
Puma.
Like we've joked about this for so long, and Nick and I debated on it, but it's like the Lakers just make everything. So it's like there's a positive side of like, dude, they beat the Nuggets. And people are already thinking of, where's that parade going? Can 77 go up in the rafters right now? But there's also, and you probably know this more than I do, the negative side of if this thing flames out, or if he has some more injuries to the calf, or, doesn't get in tip-top shape and all the stuff. They're like hyenas over there in LA. They're going to come after him.
This is one of the things you talk about, the effects of Luka's career, and you're right. I mean, one of the worst, I had written one of the worst parts of the trade right now for Mavs fans, I think, is seeing Luka and the Lakers on every TV, in every bar, gym, restaurant, like anywhere you go.
God, everywhere.
It's like,
I was at my son's youth soccer game. I'm not kidding you. I'm walking past another team's bench, and the coach goes, Luka, come over here. And it's like, a super young kid, like under 5 or 6 years old.
Gotta be Mavs fan.
Sucks for you.
Kid.
And then we're leaving, and this kid's like throwing football just like off to the side. Kid's wearing a Lakers Luka jersey. Like, and it really honestly made me think the whole way to my car. I was like, I wonder how many young fans totally switch teams.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And it's just straight up Lakers fans now.
Yeah. I bet the Mavericks completely took like a generation of fans that are that around.
I wouldn't say the whole generation, but there's probably a good chunk of people that, in kids especially, that immediately ordered Lakers jerseys, and that's sad.
He makes the finals. They finally get convinced to be Mavericks fans and all that, and then all of a sudden he gets traded to the Lakers, and it's easy to find Lakers coverage everywhere, and so you just it's an easy outlet. It's an easy access point to be a fan for sure. But one of the effects of Luka's career is going to be, if it does go bad in some way, everything is going to be maximized. You see the good from the Nuggets game. They win that game. All of a sudden they could be title contenders. They're losing against the Hornets and the Jazz. Oh my gosh, what's going on with this? What's Luka? Did Nico Harrison know something that everybody else didn't? It's just going to be so blown out of proportion in so many different ways, and I think that's going to affect Luka. And I don't know that he's going to respond to that well, because he did not care for media here. He got comfortable enough with us that he would start to make jokes and come in, but I think that's something that he's going to be uncomfortable with. You saw that first press conference that he had. Whoa, there's a lot of media here. It's like literally there's a lot of you here, kind of is what he said. That's going to be every single day for him, and that's not something I think he's excited about. Something else that is tough about this trade right now is the state of the Dallas Mavericks with Anthony Davis getting hurt. What is that status for the Mavericks going into this game? We'll talk about that and more coming up.
Uh-oh, guess what day it is? Guess what day it is, huh? Anybody?
We always still have you, our sweet prince, Dirk Nowitzki. We'll always have you. We're mentioning the worst parts of this trade. I think seeing Luka and Dorian reunited, but in LA and not with the Mavericks, is one of the worst parts to me, because Dorian was my favorite Maverick while he was on the team. And Dorian had a quote today after a Mavs or a Lakers practice, Freudian slip. He said he's quote, getting butt naked, wide open shots playing alongside Luka and LeBron. Like that should be back with the Mavericks. They should have made that move. They should have brought him back. It should have been here.
Yeah, I mean it's a version of hell that I've just tried to not think about in my head. I've joked in the past about like the moment that Vince Carter got traded to the Mavericks is like my favorite player of all time coming to my favorite team, and it was like this like euphoria moment of like, this is awesome. Well, now I have Luka and Dorian going to the franchise I hate the most, playing with a player that I don't like at all,
the most in
LeBron. And it's just like, God bless. Like, I don't know. The script writers didn't serve me well in that one.
If the script writers wanted to make it worse for the Mavericks, the state of the Mavericks right now, where I don't know if you saw, they unveiled a new banner outside of the AAC where they used to have Luka on there, and it was, there was Mavs on one side, stars on the other. And it's this giant, like honestly, like 2-story tall banner. They just unveiled a new one today, and it has Anthony Davis out on the front and Lively in the back, and then it has Klay and it has Kyrie on it. And it's just another reminder that two of those 4 guys are still not healthy and are still coming back. And I think Anthony Davis being hurt and not playing in this game against the Lakers tonight is just going to make everything all worse, because it looks like you literally traded Luka for nothing. Like, you literally looks like, if you just watch this game,
Luka for Max Christie.
No, it looks like you just sent Luka over to the other locker room. Like,
yeah. That's the sucky part about it, because it's like, I think you said maybe in the first segment of like who can like match Luka or something like that, and it's pretty much just like Kyrie. That's the thing of like, that would make this game so much better for Mavs fans if we got that first, we had the healthy AD. I could joke about the first half AD, but it's like, we had like AD going back and forth with Luka, and it's like, all right, this is fun. I mean, in a way, like, we at least have, and Kyrie can still do that. It's just, you're asking a lot for Kyrie right now on the offensive side, and then you're just asking for some of these other dudes of like Kessler Edwards, can you play? Like, and so that's the thing. And what's LeBron's role going to be in this game? Really want to see that. Is it just, hey, I'm going to feed Luka so many times? And then we still have the April game. I don't know what that game is going to look like. I don't know who's going to be playing for what at that game. If we're going to talk about script writers, I mean, if the NBA could ever, if they are ever like making things happen for the script and for the storylines, then a Lakers Mavs playoff series would just destroy everything. I mean, I can't even imagine what that would look like.
The Lakers are in the 4th seed right now. They are about tied with the Rockets, but a little bit ahead of them standings wise. The Mavericks are only 5.5 games out of 5th right now. 4.5.
How far is LA back from the 3 seed?
They are 2 games back from Denver.
Okay, so that's
from the Grizzlies, to be honest.
Yeah, that's the one I'm looking at, is if we get a 3-6 Lakers Mavs series. I don't know if I could handle that, bro.
I would drag you to LA with me.
I would go. Yeah,
going to every game with me.
I feel like I gotta go to state more crypto, whatever freak it's called.
It's called Staples, though.
I feel like I gotta go at some point. I mean, if Frodo can go to Mordor, I can go to.
Yeah. Do you have like an old Luka jersey? Do you have any like Nico memorabilia that you want to throw into the fire? Like,
no, I have a ton of Luka stuff.
Don't throw that.
Ton of Luka rookie stuff that I held on to. Those holding on just for like, oh, cool. Like, I would wish somebody did this. If I was there for rookie Dirk, and so many pairs of Luka shoes and all the stuff. So it's fun.
I think my last thing about this, and especially this game, is seeing Nico Harrison at the Warriors game the other night, and Rob Pelinka was there, and seeing them talk again, and just like imagine like how good Rob Pelinka feels, and probably how bad Nico Harrison feels right now. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's just. I don't
know. Does he?
You don't think so at this point?
No.
Seeing everything.
No.
Seeing Anthony Davis hurt, I think that might hurt him more than anything.
No, I think he's frustrated by that, but I don't think he feels bad. I mean, I think he might. I don't know. I don't know him like personally. Like he might feel bad for like the Mavs employees that he's made a lot of life tougher for.
I was gonna say at this point he's probably heard from all those people a lot more.
Yeah, but I don't know. Does he feel bad about it? Probably not. He's probably just sticking to his guns and just hoping, hey, they'll I made my decision type of thing.
He should feel bad. He should, because at this point, I think he underestimated the response from people, because I think he thought that there was going to be a much bigger group of people that were like, oh man, glad we don't have to fake cheer for Luka anymore because of the whining and the injuries and stuff like that. And like, I think that just.
But here's my only pushback to that of like, I feel like if there's somebody that should feel bad about the like fan and underestimating the fans, it is, which I think Rick Welts already like alluded to that.
Yeah, the CEO of the Mavs.
Misunderstanding that. I think it's a Rick Welts. I think it's Dumont. If like Nico would probably never say this. I mean, heck, he might. But like if Nico just straight up is like, I don't really care about the fans. I just want to win a title. So it feels more like a personal accomplishment type of thing than it is like a, hey, I mean, like I did all this for like the city or like stuff like that. It doesn't feel that like collective. My job is like for the city. It feels like this. Hey, I am doing this for my personal resume. I'm going to like, I feel so confident in my abilities and everything. Watch this. I'm so much of a blankety blank. I'm going to trade Luka. I'm going to be the one guy in history. My name's going to be in the history books because I traded Luka Doncic. And so, it just can't be that way in that type of position. But I think every this tells you everything. And I go back to this so much is the differences between the introductory press conferences between the two. Rob Pelinka shows up like he just got off his Harley in this brown leather jacket. They're strutting out everybody. And I mean, just the most relaxed. It's celebratory. There's head coach, JJ's there. Rob Pelinka's there. Like everybody's there. It's this big moment in franchise history. And then you go to the Mavericks one, and I get it. Mavs were on the road and all this stuff, but it's still, and it's just the three players with Mark Follow-up playing the MC role and listing off the accomplishments and stuff. And there's nobody there. And I get all the reasons. Hey, even if they talked afterwards, the stories written locally would have been just about Nico's quotes and not about AD and all this. I get all of that. I hear that, but still, but why is that?
But Nico's not there. Kid's not there. Like nobody was there for the Mavs one.
But why do you have to do that brain gymnastics to not be there for those reasons? Because it was so bad. And I think the differences of those press conference for the introductory stuff is the most telling thing about this whole trade, about however you want to like view it from a Mavericks positivity or all this different stuff. Like you see the two differences in that.
If anything, I think the amount of NBA executives that have come out in somewhat publicly or in reports and stuff have called this trade so crazy. Like the amount of people he's probably talked to where they're like, okay, like level with me. Like that was nuts what you just did. Like I feel like he's heard from probably enough other NBA executives at this point too, that I don't know. I think I can't imagine.
And time will tell, right? Like I'm in the camp. I realize I'm in minority probably. I'm in the camp that if they do win a title, then it was worth it and fans will be back. A lot of fans will be like fully on board with the title.
I don't think the majority of fans will go anywhere. Those are I think we've learned that in these last couple of weeks. Like I'm
just saying if they go on a playoff run, let's say this year, and AD's healtty, and AD and Kyrie are, doing their thing through the playoffs, and Max Christie's having moments and all this stuff, and PJ standing on the bit, like, and the AAC's rocking and stuff. There's going to be Mavs fans cheering, rocking with it. If they won a title, the streets would be filled with people celebrating a title. And yes, there would still be some people, that would be like, hey, this doesn't feel the same. It might not feel the same, but I think Mavs fans would still, I think there's still both ends of like, hey, even if you're doing a hit real on the street with WFAA, and it's like, hey, man, it doesn't, it feels a little different because Luka's not here, but man, we're having a blast. We love the Mavs. Go Mavs, MFNL, like, go AD. We love AD. Like, I just totally could like see that. So, I think if they do win a title, then you get it. It was worth it. But we said this the first night of the trade at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. It's the narrowest of narrow margins for you to like come out as a winner of this. And if you don't hit that, then your name will be in the history books. All right.
For sure.
Not the way that you think it will.
For sure. And that longevity that he thought of the 4 years, he may not even see with the Mavericks. We'll have a post game with me and Slightly. We may have some other stuff going as well. Check out Locked on Lakers as well if you want more on their side of it. We kind of did their side of it anyway. But guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us on Locked on Mavs. We'll continue to do content all throughout this week. Every post game. Thanks so much for listening to Locked on Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.
See you guys at the lottery.